Welcome, friends. The Jurassic Park movie taught us that scientists shouldn't experiment with the DNA of extinct creatures, because it could end up really badly. Nevertheless, with rapidly evolving science and opportunities, scientists don't want to miss the opportunity to bring extinct animals back to life. That is why they are already making such attempts that some species would never be forgotten. Welcome to the Y channel. In today's material, we will tell you about 10 extinct animals that scientists intend to revive in the near future. If you think unicorns are fictional creatures that can only be found in fairy tales or science fiction movies, then you are right, but only partially. Unicorns did exist, although they looked a bit different than what is shown on TV. A perfect example of this is Elasmotherium, from Latin Elasmotherium sibiricum. It is an extinct unicorn that lived in Eurasia in the Middle Pleistocene. Scientists believe that these peculiar creatures, relatives of modern rhinoceros, became extinct about 29,000 years ago. In their opinion, from a biological point of view, the species became extinct relatively recently, so it can be brought back to life. The more so because the permafrost well preserved the remains of this unicorn, which gives a real chance for the species' revival in our time. Like mammoths, saber-toothed tigers, or rather saber-toothed cats, are one of the most famous extinct animals in the world. It is worth recalling here the fairy tale Ice Age, in which one of the main characters was Diego the saber-toothed tiger. The last saber-toothed tigers became extinct about 11,000 years ago. Scientists say that these animals were the first animals on the planet to be completely destroyed by humans. There is a chance to fix this error and bring the saber-toothed tigers back to life. As in the previous case, their well-preserved remains in permafrost are probably the best source of DNA. And if scientists manage to get the genome of a saber-toothed tiger, they will have to find a replacement mother for it. The best candidate is an African lioness considered to be the optimal egg donor. The giant deer is an extinct mammal from the cloven-hoofed family. This species existed from the Upper Pliocene to the early Holocene, about 10 to 13,000 years ago, and inhabited Eurasia and North Africa. Many skeletons have been discovered on Irish bogs, hence its other name, Irish deer. Scientists believe that it was one of the largest deer that ever existed on our planet. The height of the largest representatives was more than 2 meters at the withers, and the distance between the tips of the horns was even 4 meters. Now specialists plan to bring this species back to life. They are solving the most serious problem facing them, finding the species closest to the giant deer. More specifically, it is about a female who could become a surrogate mother for this animal. If this is successful, the giant deer can once again come to our forests. Dodo is an extinct species of flightless birds whose representatives lived on the island of Mauritius in the Indian Ocean. Together with mammoths and dinosaurs, the dodo is one of the most famous extinct species and the most famous extinct bird in the world. Unfortunately, people have been behind the dodo extinction since they began to populate Mauritius. Previously, they lived peacefully and in isolation from predators. Scientists assume that because of this the dodo was not afraid of humans, but they decided to use these defenseless creatures. In the 17th century, people destroyed the natural environment of the bird, and the animals they brought ravaged the nests of the dodo and began to compete for quite limited food resources. As a result, the dodo population plummeted, and the last dodo in Mauritius died in 1662. These amazing birds were treated extremely unfairly. This is what many scientists who want to try to revive the dodo think so. So they plan to take the dodo's closest relative, Calanus nicobarica, and connect it to the dodo cell. Theoretically, there is a chance that this beautiful bird will appear in Mauritius again. Currently, the Australian island of Tasmania is known primarily for the population of Tasmanian devils, amazing mammals that are endemic there. Relatively recently, Tasmanians were inhabited by another interesting species called Thylacines. The last of them died on May 13, 1930. In 1936, the last captive animal of this species in a private zoo died of old age. Scientists believe they can revive it. In 1999, the Australian National Museum in Sydney announced the start of a project to create a Thylacines clone and the use of DNA from young Thylacines that are kept in the museum in formalin. In late 2002, the DNA was extracted, but the samples were damaged and unusable. On February 15, 2005, the suspension of the project was announced. However, in May 2008, scientists successfully inserted some genes into a mouse embryo. The source of the genetic material was a specimen kept in formalin at the Sydney Museum for over 100 years. It is likely that eventually scientists will be able to revive this species. Tur is an extinct cloven-hoofed mammal that was domesticated by the ancient inhabitants of India and Eurasia about 10,000 years ago. Tur is considered one of the ancestors of all modern cattle. Unfortunately, this historically important species was declared extinct in the 17th century. Then the last individual died. Scientists now plan to revive the auroch by crossing common breeds of European cattle with specimens similar to the Tura until they breed an animal that resembles it as closely as possible. So it will not be a one-to-one copy, but according to scientists, it is not much different from the original. It should be noted that the chances of a successful experiment are very good because in the 20th century, Heka cattle were bred in a similar project to revive Turas from modern breeds of domestic cattle derived from aurochs. The experiment turned out to be partially successful, so today it has an even greater chance of success. The Carolingian parrot is a bird of the parrot family that lived in North America until it was destroyed by hunters. As a result, it was considered an extinct species. The causes of the extermination are in some ways understandable, but certainly not acceptable. Poachers hunted these parrots because of their amazingly beautiful feathers, which were then used to make expensive women's hats. The demand for such hats led to the fact that in 1939 the Carolingian parrots were finally declared extinct. Nevertheless, work is underway to revive these wonderful birds. Researchers obtained Carolingian parrot DNA from eggshell fragments stored at the New York State Museum. Geneticists plan to use the female black-headed horse from Latin Aratinga Nende as a surrogate mother. While the scientists' intentions are good, many people rightly believe that after these parrots are reborn, the story of their extermination may repeat itself. Unlike the other characters in this video, the great-billed woodpecker is not considered a completely extinct animal. Officially, it is listed as an endangered species. There are only a few specimens of these woodpeckers left in the world, so most ornithologists consider them to be completely extinct. When it comes to bringing extinct animals back to life, mammoths are probably the most famous extinct creatures in the world. This is due to the fact that the mammoth is given a lot of attention in pop culture. Many films and fairy tales have been made about him, such as the Ice Age with the mammoth Manic. That is why many people are waiting for the resurrection of mammoths. They would like to see what these animals actually look like. Apparently, human desires will soon be fulfilled, as scientists often find mammoth remains in the permafrost. Recently, a mammoth was found on Wrangel Island in the Arctic Ocean, which lived only 4,300 years ago. Scientists believe that it is easier to resurrect mammoths than other extinct animals because permafrost prevents their complete decay and preserves very important genetic material. Researchers have already isolated cells from the remains of many mammoths. Now they plan to combine the genes of a mammoth with the genes of an elephant embryo to create a hybrid of a mammoth and an elephant. It is supposed to have all the features of a mammoth that we know from movies and textbooks. And which of these species would you like to see again with your eyes? Write in the comments if you liked it. You can like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon to not miss interesting materials.